Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another spoiler review for the month of Halloween. And today we'll be tackling one of the most iconic Halloween Disney original movies, Halloweentown. Uh, Starring Debbie Reynolds, the late great Debbie Reynolds, uh, and Kimberly J. Brown. Uh, man, this movie is like I mean, of course, if you didn't grow up with this movie, probably not gonna you'll probably find it kind of cheesy. But those who did grow up with it like I have, you find some charm to it. It's like especially from Debbie Reynolds and Kimberly Brown, because like you know, even to this day, Kimberly Brown, she's done other work. She's still doing some acting, not like a big name. It's kind of like a character actor thing, which honestly I respect, because like you know that's kind of thing like I would probably want to do, because like voice acting. I don't need to be the lead. I can just be various creatures or just like supporting characters. I don't really care. But it's just that she's like written children's book. One being called the uh, Poppins Pumpkin Patch Parade. Uh, Co-author Diane Yaslas. Uh, Currently, she joined the cast of General Hospital, which is pretty doggone cool. My aunt loves like soap operas. Uh, yeah, so she's been in quite a few things. I mean, and then of course, the late, Debbie Reynolds, passed like, it was like a good 5 years now by this point. Then sometime after that, because I did not even know she was until she passed. I did not know she was related to Carrie Fisher, uh, aka Princess Leia, or Queen Leia, I should say. So, that was it's like you'd be surprised what kind of information you find out just at random like that. Especially like after somebody had passed, they pull up all kinds of like factoids that you didn't even realize. So like with Debbie Reynolds, and then no, I'm pretty sure Carrie Fisher passed. Then Debbie Reynolds sometime after that. So it was like back to back, kind of tragic. I mean, I think it happened. Remember that year? Not to get this all like a downer or anything like that. You remember that year when it felt like every celebrity felt like they was just passing away, just like more so than any other year. I think it was like 2018, was it? When like she passed away. Yeah, 2016. Cause I think it was like 2016, 2017. Pretty sure just 2016, but it felt like everybody was just like passing away left and right. It was like a very odd year for all that. But anyway, this is not something you probably want to hear, but I thought it should be brought up because Debbie Reynolds was amazing in all these Halloweentown movies. She played it. She's a very serious actor for over so many years, and throughout all this time, she's like always, she, even when something like this, she played it so good, so seriously, it didn't even matter to her. Like she didn't like consider this like it's a children's movie, so I can just half-ass it. No, she played it, very well. She took it very seriously in the role of uh, of Agatha Cromwell. Agatha. It was Agatha all along. Uh, and Kimberly Jane Brown played Marnie Piper. And out of, out of all the names of this movie, it was those two that I always like. I remember because it's like pretty much them like throughout because they have sequels, and I think by the third one, because I think they had like 4 or 5 Halloweentown films. How many? Yeah, it has like one. Yeah, 4 of them, and it's like the third and fourth one, wasn't as good. You know, I don't know. It's lost its like I don't know, something that little X factor that they had in the first 2 films. Uh, I can't explain it, but it's just like something. It's like something fell off. Uh, Ironically, it feels like they kind of lost a bit of the magic in a way, for at least for me personally. I'm curious if you guys actually felt that same way, because I did, because I've seen like the first 2 Halloweentown films multiple times, every Halloween, but third and fourth one I completely skipped. It's just me. I watched each one of them once, when it first was released, maybe 2 times, but maybe because like I figured I wanted to give it maybe another chance, maybe maybe after a rewatch I might thought it may be a little bit better, but it wasn't. I just resigned myself like, yeah, these are pitiful. Maybe because it's different directors or something. I don't know. Anyway, the story begins. Oh, by the way, Marnie, because I remember years ago I talked to one of my best friends, named Emily. She I told her one time at a job we used to work at a long time ago. It was around Halloween, as a matter of fact, and I told her I swear to God, you look just like the girl from Halloweentown, because she kind of does. Except, Marnie's kind of a brunette, or Kimberly, J. Brown's kind of a brunette, while my friend is, got a little bit more blonde in her hair. But it's just the facial features. It's kind of because more so in the first one, but of course, like Kimberly J. Brown, when she got a little older, she's still very, very pretty. But just that, when she was younger, it's like she looked, my friend looked just like her. It was crazy. It's like, man, you look just like the girl from Halloweentown. But anyway, the story begins when it's with Marnie fighting with her mom over the fact that for a very long time she never let any one of her kids, because the son Dylan and the younger sister, was that Maggie? No, Sophie. I don't want to get Maggie from Sophie, and by and large, she kept them from celebrating Halloween for so long, and she and a few other kids, and talking about Marnie's such she's into this weird stuff, and she she's always been kind of like a weird kid, and at that time I just accepted that, but as I got older and rewatching it, especially now that I'm taking a closer inspection of it, she never really, maybe aside from a few factoids, when the grandmother comes to visit, and she pulling stuff out of her bag, and she's talking about the hieroglyphs from the Book of the Dead, and she's talking about the pentagram that was used to make the first werewolf, and she named the name, probably some deep kind of Wolfman lore. But aside from that, which I thought that was kind of neat, but aside from that, she doesn't come across as a weird kid that's super into creepy stuff for Halloween or gothic, because Lydia from Beetlejuice will be considered a weird kid. That would have fit to her character, not Marnie, because Marnie seems more like, the kind of, not to put any shade on Marnie. I love Marnie. She was a great character. But Marnie seems like the type, if you really, like, if you take yourself out of it for a moment and, like, look at it on the surface, Marnie seems more like the type of kid in these kind of Disney movies to be like that super popular, girly girl cheerleader kind of character that will probably bully said awkward, weird girl. You know what I mean? And if it was showed a little bit more of the weirdness, as instead of just saying it and show it a little bit more, maybe it will play off more believable, in my opinion. But and then you get this typical thing like you see in some movies or TV shows, that the parents keeping like the family secret from the kid because they want to live a normal life, because the mother has some hangups because she's a Cromwell. The Cromwells are like have a lineage of witches, but the mom met a human man. They decide to live in the human world, raise a family. He at some point passed away, so now she decides to just live a normal life in the human world, raise her children normally. Now I have a little bit of a con against that, because I mean, not against, because it's always like a thing in certain movies where it's like you gotta the whole keeping a secret to protect your loved one. You see it in the CW a lot of times, but it's just that their powers are growing, and at a certain point, because I guess her line, I think, is going to just go away, but it didn't go away for you. But you still have some powers that you just decide just not to use, but you still have them. And they're just gonna grow and grow as they get older, and like it's like I don't know, as like a parent, you would think that kind of thing, you will have to have a discussion with your kids. Be just kind of like, it's just not to act like I'm a psychologist or anything like that. But I remember watching a video from Cinema Therapy, which is like a great YouTube series. Definitely should check it out to learn some stuff. But there was I believe it was like the Terminator 2 reviewing Sarah Connor, and the fact that like certain parents do certain things that not every parent's perfect. Every parent's gonna make mistakes. Every parent's gonna screw up. Every parent's gonna like snap on their kids. They will like falter at some point, or at least a handful of times throughout the upbringing of the child. But there's gonna be certain lines that you end up crossing that you're not seeing, that become detrimental to the child later in life, that they're gonna end up resenting you because of that, or because in your mind you're doing what's best for the child, but that can just easily be more detrimental than you think. And in this case, I'm looking at Marnie's mom is like, obviously you love your kid. You don't want your kid getting tangled in all this mad stuff, and for some reason, which is never explained, why she tried to, because she just wants to live a normal life, and it's like, why? What magic do to you that wants you to like keep it under wraps? uh, uh, it's like, did magic kill your husband? Because if that was the case, that'd be a good motivator to the mom to say like, I want to keep this suppressed because I don't want magic to hurt my children the way it hurt me by taking my husband away, kind of situation. That would have been a great motivator, but that was not it. She just does want their heritage, her kids to find out their heritage and embrace that side. And I thought that was like a weird choice of a parent, because you're protecting them for something that's supposedly going to be harmful or in some way, and that was never explained thoroughly, at least. But the grandmother comes by, showering them with like costumes and candy, and in these original Disney Channel movies, and it's always like, of course, like the budget isn't always there, of course, but you can tell in certain editings or the way certain things are shot, they seem like, kind of like somebody pressed the fast forward button on a certain scene, or it's like the way the camera is pointed. It's like it's hard for me to describe. I'm not a filmmaker, but it's just like when like the boy was trying on this little troll kind of outfit, and it's kind of like the frontal shot is kind of like a little weird. It's like just like something to the eye that was off about it, and it's always been that way with certain like Disney Channel original movies. It's like if something felt off kilter in in some of their shots, it's hard to explain, but it's just something that is kind of blatantly obvious. It's not like it's hurting the film. It's just something that's like a glaring kind of like a weird edit choice. But anyway, Agatha comes, is coming by not only to see her grandchildren, but want to talk with her daughter about, bringing them back to Halloweentown with her, and then she also need her because there's like some kind of threat that she needs another criminal witch, because it works best with more than just one to deal with this threat that she's worried about. But of course, the mom not trying to hear it, and then just after she's Agatha reads her grandchildren like a bedtime story, she's off, not before having another argument, and then like using her magic powers when Marnie's like overhearing and watching this from afar, and like because she's always been like oh, I'm so eager to embrace this stuff, like like, and she's like just puberty is hitting like this kid like a ton of bricks. Is ready to like go full force without any. Of course, as the movies continue on, she becomes more mature, as a witch, and like it eventually runs like not runs the school, but becomes like a teacher, I believe. I think the last one becomes some kind of like a faux musical, which is probably because I'm not a musical kind of guy. There's a few musicals that I actually do love, Sweeney Todd being another one, which I will definitely review next year. But it's just I don't know. It's just like I lost my train of thought. Shoot. But anyway, she convinces Dylan, her brother, to come with her to follow the grandma to this magical bus stop that carries monsters from the human world to back to Halloweentown and vice versa. And it's just that, okay, I'm thinking to myself, okay, these monsters that's come from Halloweentown to the human world, why would they need to? It's just like, I guess it's like vacation trip, and just like, you just want to like get away from it all kind of situation. Because I guess like the veil between the human world and like the other side is like at its thinnest. So they playing off of that factoid, and like as like a way to like hey, that's why they travel back and it's the only time they travel back and forth when it's the thinnest. Pretty sure they mentioned this in the film. So they follow, and they don't realize Sophie is tagging along behind them. They go to Halloweentown, see like this big jack-o'-lantern right in the center of the town, and meet up with the mayor Calabar, who used to date their mom, and yeah, he's a warlock, and he gets this taxi rider, the skeleton named Benny, who's like the local taxi driver, and which like the way that skeleton operates is like the it's obviously got to be like animatronic, but it's just like the way the bones move and like the brow furrows and everything like that. It takes like some bit of prosthetics. It has to. So that looked pretty doggone good. It always still looked good to me. That was that was like a cool choice. Some of the people, or at least people or citizens of Halloweentown, is just pretty much people in costumes. It wasn't. Some of them weren't good. It's like clearly like like the costume department, like not that it was slacking, but it's kind of like it's supposed to be like Halloweentown. You would think they kind of, I don't know, not make it like horrifically scary or anything like that. This is a kids film, but I don't know. It just feels like anybody you see out in a Halloween party decides to run a town with their costumes on, and it's like, well, of course, this is back. This movie. When was this movie made? It had to be like late, like 1999, 1998. I was close. So, it's like, well, I'm not sure how costume back in the day, how grown-ups at that time wore costumes that like, because now we have cosplayers and people who actually make some legit costumes that's like really really good. Obviously time is like taken to making them look good, but in this film it looks like this stuff is like almost feel like thrown together, aside from maybe like a few things that looks like like the skeleton driver and like the local street punk, and the guy who's running like this shop that sells like flying brooms, who's like pretty much like a ghoul. And there's like a ghost in here, like this like overweight ghost. I mean, aside from like those for like a prime example, because those are pretty doggone good in my opinion. Aside from that, everybody else is pretty much like just wearing some, just some thrown, not want to say thrown about costumes, but it's just like kind of like just costumes they got from Party City when that was still I don't even think Party City was even a thing in the 90s. It was definitely like a early to mid 2000s kind of thing, but it's kind of like very thrown together kind of costumes. Anyway, they finally go to Agatha's place, and they decide to help her, track down this bad thing, trying to help them out since their mom didn't want to help. Of course, the mom eventually figures out, the kids are gone, so she realized like they had to go with their grandmother. Then she found a way. She waited for the last bus stop to take her to Halloweentown so she can get her kids. So Marnie is just eager to learn witchcraft and everything like that. And I gotta say, like I said, like the two primary people in this film that I'm like completely engaged in, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people feel the same way, is Agatha and Marnie. The little brother and sister are kind of one note. The brother is like a just dweeb kid that spouts random analytics and science stuff, and like he's the cynic from out of the three. And then Sophie just says, one or two lines in every other scene, and it's like, and this be cute kind of situation, which she was, but it's like that's all there was to it. She unbelievably, because all three of the kids grew up and starred in stuff, but I think Marnie is more so got more stuff underneath her belt, and she still is like I said, she's currently has like a reoccurring role on General Hospital. So I just wish that the director would have gave them, just because it's an original Disney movie doesn't mean they could not give Dylan and Sophie more layers to them than just being cute and just being like a smart aleck. And he's pretty much like the Mandark, pretty much. It's kind of like just like a straight up dork, like like a very stereotypical dork, might I add. And it's kind of kid that it's like, okay, it's the 90s, so we gotta have like a dork. So it's like, let's give him glasses, throw him some kind of like very uptight kind of outfits. Thank God they didn't give him suspenders and like a pen and pencil pocketbook kind of thing on his shirt. Otherwise, it's just been way too much. I think he gets better as in the later films as he get older, but not by much. From my recollection, not by much. But earlier in the when they're going through Halloweentown, Agatha meets up with one of her little friends. She's like I believe she was Irish, and just like very cheerful and everything like that. But once they come back into town to get some ingredients for the brew to help combat this evil, she runs into her again, and she's more feral. And it's like at that moment you get one of those like weird shot scenes that you see typically in these kind of Disney original movies, where it's kind of like a slow motion backup kind of situation, or like almost like they're trying to freeze frame, but just like moving just like just a little bit kind of things. It's like it's like I've seen that a lot in a lot of those Disney Channel movies too, especially the Halloween ones. Phantom and the Megaplex, you see that quite a bit, which maybe next year I would definitely get into that. There's a lot I want to get into, but I want to start off like very strong with things like Hocus Pocus, which I should be up on the channel now, and this. She goes to Calabar to explain to him hey, what I've been warning you about is starting to escalate, because my friend was just fine a couple hours ago. I ran to her again. Now she's like a rabid animal. So something's going on in this town, and it's turned like the people in this town into it's like a dark spell. It's kind of like, because she's kind of like a trollish or kind of like a goblin type of creature, Agatha's friend, and she's like a cheerful kind of thing. She kind of look like a goblin or a troll type of person. She was a very cheerful and like very like bubbly kind of attitude. But then she's like kind of like this kind of dark spell is kind of like changing her back to like her original like ancestral nature, and she's kind of very wild and like feral. And like you see that from time to time from like Benny, who's like very more angry rather than jokey, and very reckless in his driving, even more so, but just like really wants. his driving was like very fast, and it's like, but it's more controlled, and he's cheerful, he's nonchalant because he knows his way around. But later on, he's driving people around, and he's just completely careless, not joking at all. He's like, doesn't care who's he endangering as he's driving all the way, through. Now he's asking people like, makes you pay your fare type of stuff, and it's like, that is kind of very cool. It's like, this evil force is trying to, all the creatures of Halloweentown are like happy townsfolk. Now they're turned to like, just beast and, real monsters now. Something they kind of left behind centuries ago. And they eventually find out, this hooded, green-faced specter kind of looked like an evil Jim Carrey mask, under a hood. And he's the one that, gave like the local punk, because he's like a troll type of creature, but he wants to be handsome, so he enchanted him to, in exchange for working for him, he made him handsome. And he just become like a local jerk now. When the mom comes back, Marnie and her have like this like blow up, and as they follow Agatha towards this movie theater, being led by I keep calling him the local punk. What is his name? Okay, Luke. Agatha and the mom get trapped in this paralyzing spell by this big wizard. So it was up to like Marnie and the Dylan and Sophie to gather the ingredients necessary to complete the spell, which is like a sweat of a ghost, hair of a werewolf, and a fang of a vampire. And you get to see like a nice little moment. It's like, going through certain spots just to get these items, which, is one good point made by Dylan when it's like, why would a ghost sweat when he doesn't have a body and he's dead? But it's a goofball movie, so it's like you find this obese ghost going to the sauna steam room to like get a good sweat in, and so they collect that way, and then they have to go to a dentist to while a vampire just happened to be getting her teeth pulled, and the dentist pulled one of her fangs, kind of like a wisdom tooth, but I guess it was hurting kind of thing. And then they just snipped a hair off of a werewolf who's like a barber, the local barber. So once they completed the spell, they managed to release the paralyzing spell off the mother and grandmother. It turns out Calabar is like the green-faced monster, and he feels like we should be back in the human world where our ancestors were, or at least where I don't know, like how like their lives, because like because apparently the grandma's been living at this house for like her house for like 200 years, so it's hard to say like a lot of their ages truly, or at least like if they even can die traditionally. But whoever was there from the beginning, and whoever like had like ancestors from that beginning, he wants to like he doesn't feel like we should be the one exiled to this place. We should be going back to the human world where we was running things, and it's never explained how they got split from like the Earth realm to Halloweentown in the first place. But he wants to bring them all back, but he wants to like bring them back into their true primal nature, instead of like a happy-go-lucky vampire. It's a traditional vampire that will kill you and drink your blood kind of situation. And like he's starting off with his speech, and like for a few bit the townsfolk was like nodding their heads in agreement and clapping like, yeah, you know what, yeah. It's like, do you hear him as he's speaking? And like y'all seem like very easily led type of people. It's not like he's waving like a enchantment to you guys, like, you know, the Sanderson sisters and Hocus Pocus. Like he's giving a speech and y'all just like buying right into it. Or maybe he is, you know, enchanting them quite a bit. But they quickly turn on him in the next scene when like you see like the Cromwells working together to like increase the power of the spell to destroy him, which brings everything back to normal. You know, the mother and daughter reconcile. Allowing the grandmother, to like, frequently visit, or I'm pretty sure to stay. I'm blanking on it, but just see the kids a lot more instead of just like trying to keep them away, which is something like that should be inherent. It'll be like a great subversion of expectation if she acknowledges what she's doing is wrong, but it's just like, or at least come with like a better. There's been better writing when dealing with trouble like this. Like, I want to protect my kids, but this X, Y, and Z is why I cannot let them see them kind of situation. See, like, learn of their true heritage and like learn their powers, because this could lead to that. And like, the grandma might be a detriment to that. So I'm keeping her away as much as it pains me kind of situation. Just acknowledge her fault, but still give a good reason why she's believing that the thing that she's believing in, and then make the turnaround. But this seems like, like I said, this is in the 90s. This is kind of like par for the course around this time frame. But yeah, like I said, like by and large, the reason at least I come back to this movie almost every Halloween is pretty much like Marnie and the grandmother. Like those two sell this movie very well. I mean, it's like, it's fun. It's like they make it fun, and it kind of like, they're acting, especially off each other. It kind of like it kind of overshadowed any kind of irksome, dialogue or like certain things that kind of seem like awkward. It's like they, that their acting is kind of like negating that, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's just fun to see these two just being them. They just like, they're not like nobody else is invested in this film. They clearly are, but just they're given more so their almost because they get most of the camera time, obviously. But it's just fun seeing these two. And just like with like the Sanderson sisters and Hocus Pocus, where it's like they the ones that making this movie work despite all else. That's how I feel about Marnie and Agatha. They are making this movie as special as it remained to be after all these years. But I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts on this. This is still doing it for you? Has your opinion changed on the film after all this time, either for good or for bad? Just really want to know what y'all guys' thoughts on Halloweentown. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Follow me on those various links that are on the description of the video. If you want to further support the channel, follow me on my Patreon, patreon.com/talkativecarl. And yeah, like if you have like certain ideas for reviews or topics that you want me to discuss, I'll take a look at it and make a video and definitely give you like a shout out. But yeah, tomorrow I'll be watching the last James Bond film, so I'll be doing a spoiler review for that. Then next week, I Don't know what I'm gonna be doing next week. I'm gonna probably just leave it as a surprise. But yeah, I will see you guys soon. Take care. Have a good night, and pretty sure I'm gonna make sure like I get as much as I can out before Halloween, because I'm gonna take like a night off on Halloween because I'm going out to like a bar crawl, so it won't be any streaming on that night. Probably on the next day either, because I'm probably gonna be hung the hell over from drinking and having tons of candy and just having like a jolly time, since I could not do anything last year because of the damn pandemic. And I'm pretty sure you all are feeling the same way. So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you guys will have like a very happy Halloween. Hope you get to do something despite well, if you're fully vaccinated, then, or at least have a face covering. Hope you get to do something this year that you might had missed out last year. So take care, and I will see you guys very soon. I post almost every day, so I'll see you guys soon. Peace.